Good morning, everyone. This is Shelby with Shelby Creations. Welcome to the Dragon's Den. And usually when I go to make a video, I sort of see what everyone else is doing out there, because if there's a lot of collaging videos, then I try to do something else. But Charlotte Peterson, I love her to death, was doing die cutting. And she has the cutest little machine. Well, I don't have the cutest little machine. I've got the big Sizzix Big Shot Plus. And I couldn't do mine right then because I had to wait for somebody to come home to get it off the top shelf, because those things are heavy. And then after watching her, I watched Brenda Clark. And Brenda was also doing die cutting. But she had this really neat technique about putting a sheet of foam like you get from the Dollar Tree, or I think I got mine from Hobby Lobby. You know, over your die. That's the big thing, over your die. And then putting wax paper in with layered it with your die cut, or with your regular paper for die cutting. So I thought that was a neat idea, and I had to try it. Well, I did not have, well, I've got wax paper, but I didn't want to have to get up and get it. But I had a stack of vellum. Now I've got the architectural vellum, which is a thicker vellum. Then coming, the middle thickness, I guess, would be premium tracing paper, and then you have regular tracing paper, which is really thin, almost like rice paper. But I ended up with some really, really neat things. And of course, you know, flowers, tags, butterflies, some more little tags. And then I've got some that I think they are called either nested dies or layered dies. But this one was a two-part, let me move these over some so you can see. A two-part frame, and that's the center. And this was out of, when we stamped, this was the rice paper that I stamped with that background stamp several videos ago. But I have these two frames, and then I have the middle, so I can use this also. And if you don't like the printed side, which is generally, I wasn't too happy with that paper, I really didn't care for it, but I do have the back side I can use. Some of the dies that we get they do not have an edge. They're supposed to be cut out on a sheet of paper, for a certain way, which is the way this one was. And all I did was trace around it so that I have something I can use on a regular sheet of paper. This one was an edge die, and I just came around here, so you can see where the points are. That's where it ended, and then my not so good fussy cutting around the edge. But these turned out really, really good, and I was surprised. But because I used vellum, this one is gorgeous. I think that's my favorite. And then I've got the fairy. See if I can get some of these out of here, because I wanted to show you how the vellum turned out. But everything's going to hook together here, as we know it always does when you're dealing with die cuts and butterflies. Now, some of my dies I bought, like at Tuesday morning or somewhere, because those things are expensive. I think the only one I paid full price for was one of Tim Holtz's, the thicker ones. Look at that. I'm not sure you can see that. Try to get it here where you can see it. That would be beautiful. on a cover or, going across the center of the page. But when you pull these things out and you're doing the vellum part and you're peeling it off, I mean, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? And yeah, that is vellum. So I've got all of these, and then I have all of these in vellum. Now, one thing I did with, let me see if I have it here. With the other side too, they came one like with the girl and the other just had the, almost like the vines on it. But as you can see, when it got done, I left the die where it was and held it in place and traced around it. Well, I cut out this edge, but I just came straight down here because that gives me something. I can use this as a flap or whatever, but that gives me a little bit something substantial to hold it with. So I've got all of these to play with. But then, remember I told you about Brenda and the foam? Well, I didn't listen too well. And instead of putting the foam on the top, over the die, I layered it with, as it built up, I had my foam, I had my paper, I had my vellum. And then I ran it through. So, and then she would say, well, you can use these like 4 or 5 times before, you need to use another one. That didn't work so well. Because at the first one, when I pulled everything off, there was no way I could have used it because it left a hole in the shape of the die. And this, put a whole mess over here, is what I have ended up with. So I have the butterflies. I have my disc, which I'm going to say because these make, great labels or whatever. But when we're adding dimensions or dimensionals into our journals and our scrapbooks or whatever, they use that double-sided foam tape. And sometimes that tape is kind of wide. These, I mean, look how you still get some width, but it's not a lot. So that's one way to add dimension into your journal. You see, I've got tags in here. And then I've got all these pieces. Yes, they are in colors, but you can come in here with gilding wax, with your inks, your daubers, and ink them, paint, do the gilding on them, paint them. Because, all right, with these 2 corners here, these are the papers. Now, I also have these in vellum. But when they printed out, put that in with these over here, or when they cut out, this was the foam piece. Now, it's still, I don't think it's quite dry yet because I did paint it. I did this in pink, but then I went back over with just a little gold paint, just daubed it on with my finger. So now I have a gilded piece. But well, maybe it is dry. I'm trying to make it so that, find a way that you can see this a bit better. Here, I'll put it on a doily. But see how pretty that turned out? And it will give me dimension on the corners of any page or even on the cover. I mean, then I have this. Now, if most of my journals are not this wide, but still, I mean, that is a gorgeous piece. Because I'm definitely going to have to do a wider journal just so I could use that. Or I can even come in here and cut it in half. But look at all these pieces that I am left with. Look at that, how beautiful that butterfly come out. Now, one thing you'll have to keep in mind is, you have to excuse me, it was in the low 30s this morning. Woke up, head's all stuffy. Of course, turning the heater off inside the dragon's den last night probably wasn't the smartest move because it was a little chilly this morning. And now my head is stopped up. But with these, the foam pieces, a lot of times you're going to have to come back in here and poke all of this stuff out. Which, yes, it takes time, but it is so worth it. I mean, look how beautiful that piece is. Just gorgeous. Now, a word of caution when you're working with the foam. A lot of us, when we crank our stuff through a machine, we'll do it one way and then reverse it and come back. Well, if you're doing multiple dies, and with we all know that Big Shot Plus has a wide bed, I will put several dies on. But I only need to run it through once, because if I run it through twice, I'm not sure you can see it, because I know there's a bit of a glare in here. Let me come back to the doily. Now, there is almost like a set of where it's cut the second time coming back through. So it leaves little pieces that you've got to come in here and actually take off. Usually these are quite easy. They just pull, they come right off. But you're going to have what I call hairs. So just be aware of that when you're doing multiples. When I only did one die, if I did not roll it to where the die finished under the rollers, got right to the edge and rolled it back, I didn't have this problem with the little hairs. But if the die went all the way through, and then you had a little bit and then running it back through, it seems for some reason that it does move on you, and you've got all these little hairs. But, I mean, now I've got things that, yes, I'm going to paint them because, the colors are gorgeous, but, not my style. But, I mean, look at that. And then this one here was supposed to have been done so that you can either do it as a gate, or as a complete circle, I guess. Not real sure. But, I mean, look at the frames. These turned out so good. And, it's foam. So we can come in here. I can take the metallic paint or the gilding wax, and those would be perfect in our journal or on the cover or wherever. That's what I did. I goofed. I did not follow directions. I was too busy watching and listening, or too busy listening than watching, and didn't actually pay attention to exactly how she said it. Those do fit together, by the way. When you're also cutting with foam, and if you're using them like this, when you go to take them apart, because you're going to have to tug them at some point. They're not just going to fall apart like they do with paper. It does stretch the foam a bit, but, and you know, as you can see, they will fit back. And then just pop that back in there. And see? So now I've got 2 frames and a title banner, or depending on how I glue it in, it could be a tuck spot. But this to me is just gorgeous. I don't know where I got the dies that I used, because some of them were bought like at Tuesday morning. Of course, Tuesday morning here is no more. Some were sent to me. Some I got secondhand. Well, most of them I got secondhand. I think there's only, other than the little ones I bought at Tuesday morning, I think I bought, which of course didn't pay full price for them. I think there was only one from Tim Holtz that I paid full price for. Everything else is secondhand. I got it off Marketplace. I have not bought any from Temu or Wish. And I've got none from Journal Say. Oh, now when you're in like Joann's or the craft store, you see or even the bookstore, the magazines, some of those, like your card making magazines and all, some of those will have like stamps or die cuts in with them, and that's where some of these came from. So I can't, the only thing I can suggest if you're looking for dies is to, that's it, just look. Put in filigree dies for paper crafting. And try to be, because if you just put in filigree dies, it's going to give you all kinds of weird things. And I put in, what was I looking for the other day? It was some kind of die, and I put it in, but I did not add for paper crafting. So I got a lot of things that weren't exactly dies. But see what I mean about running it through twice? Have what I call hairs. And then you just got to come by and pick them all out. And of course, not all these holes will come out. You will have to come in with some, either with your pokey tool or scissors, and poke them out, which is what took forever yesterday. And it will leave a mess everywhere. I know I have dumped these like half a dozen times or more, and those are still a lot of pieces in there. And then even my vacuum cleaner, my little desk vacuum, I had that going on here. So yeah, quite a mess. I haven't done the floor yet, but that'll be today, because these little die cut pieces are going to be all over my floor. So, but that is what I have been up to. Like I said, this is what happens when you don't follow directions. Or at least with me, I ended up with more things that I have to find a home for. But, I'll use them. So, I will find a home for these. And we'll be seeing a lot of these in our work for this coming year. I just thought that turned out so pretty. Just that touch of gold. Now, I'm not putting the gold on this side. Of course, I can see where it came through, where it leached around the edges. Because all I did was put a drop on my craft mat, with it being glass, and then just, actually with my finger, just stopped it on. So, that's going to be pretty. And I'm going to do that to a few more of these in here, so that I have them at the ready. But yeah, didn't follow directions, and now I've got wonderful things to play with. So sometimes it's good not to follow directions. But anyway, that's all for this time. If you like what I've shared with you today, give me a thumbs up, hit that subscription icon, and click on the bell so you'll be notified of all the other great things we're going to be doing this year in the Dragon's Den. And I will see you next time. Bye, guys.